All right, so we're diving right in today. We're going to be tackling those little linguistic landmines that we kind of tiptoe around every day, contractions. You've heard of them, right?
Yeah.
Those squished together words that we use all the time in English. Like, don't instead of do not, or I'm
Right.
instead of I am.
Yeah.
I think you get the picture. We use them so often you probably don't even think about them anymore. But have you ever stopped
I know.
and wondered, like, what are the actual rules here?
Yeah.
Like, when can you use a contraction? When should you absolutely avoid them? Are there any secret
Mm-hmm.
contraction codes
Mm.
that native speakers just, like, instinctively know? Well, don't worry, because today
We've got you covered.
we are going on a deep dive into contractions to uncover all those hidden rules and mysteries, and hopefully by the end of this,
Yeah.
you'll be able to wield the power of contractions like a pro.
That's right.
And to help us on this journey, we've dug into some pretty fascinating material that really goes
Oh, yeah.
deep into how and why we use contractions in English.
Absolutely.
So, like, right off the bat, I'm curious, why do you think we as English speakers like contractions so much?
Well, I think a big part of it comes down to efficiency, Just think about it. Saying I'm is so much quicker and easier than saying I am. It's like a
Yeah.
tiny little shortcut for your tongue. And those tiny shortcuts, they add up over time, especially when you consider how many words we actually speak every single day.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. It's almost like a linguistic principle of least effort.
It really is.
Our brains are always looking for the most efficient way to communicate,
Exactly.
and contractions help us do that.
And it's not just about speed either. Contractions, they can actually change the tone of what you're saying.
Oh, that's interesting.
Think about it. Like, she is walking. Sounds a bit formal, doesn't it?
It does.
But she's walking feels more casual and natural, more like how we actually talk in everyday conversation.
Right, like she is coming to dinner
Yeah.
versus she's coming to dinner. Huge difference in tone, right?
Exactly. And it's not just about formality either. Sometimes contractions can even make what you're saying sound warmer and friendlier, like we will help you can sound kind of stiff and impersonal, but will help you feels more approachable and reassuring.
I see what you mean.
It's like a little linguistic hug.
It's true. Like, you wouldn't want a doctor to say, we will help you. You
Exactly.
want them to say, we'll help you. Like, it's going to be okay. We got this. You know what's funny? I was reading that even Shakespeare used contractions,
Oh, wow.
like way back in the 1600s. He used or for over and ean for even.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So this isn't just like a modern slang thing. Contractions have been a part of the English language for centuries.
Right. Like it's ingrained in the DNA of English.
It's part of what makes English English.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's get to the juicy stuff. The stuff that trips people up. The contractions that sound the same, but have completely different meanings.
Yes. These are the contraction conundrums.
Exactly, like it's versus its. And then there's the whole there extravaganza. These are like the Bermuda Triangle of English grammar.
They really are. But don't worry, we're going to demystify these little devils once and for all. So let's start with its versus its. The key here is to remember that its, with an apostrophe, is always a contraction.
Okay.
It's short for either it is or it has. Like, it's a beautiful day or it's been raining for hours.
Got it.
Now, it's without an apostrophe is the possessive form of it. It shows that something belongs to it. Like the cat licked its paw. You wouldn't say the cat licked at his paw. That would sound totally bonkers.
Yeah, no one's saying that. Okay, so its is a contraction.
Yes.
And it is possessive.
Exactly. And the easiest way to tell which one you need is to try substituting it is or it has into the sentence. If it makes sense grammatically, then you need its. If it sounds weird, then it's probably its.
So that's a good trick.
Yeah.
Just try substituting it in and see if it sounds right.
Exactly. And now for the grand finale, there, they'd extravaganza. Are you ready for this?
I'm strapped in. Let's do it.
Okay, so there with an apostrophe is a contraction of they are. Like they're going to the movies.
Right.
There without an apostrophe indicates a place or a location, like look over there, or there's a cat in the tree. There without an apostrophe is the possessive form of they. It means something belongs to them, like they lost their keys. And finally, they'd with an apostrophe can be a contraction of either they would or they had. This one can be tricky because it depends on the context. Like, they'd love to come to your party means they would love to come.
Okay.
But they'd already eaten dinner when I arrived means they had already eaten dinner.
So context is key with that one.
It really is. You have to look at the surrounding words and figure out what makes the most sense.
Okay, so to sum up, there is they are. There is a place. There is possessive.
Yes.
And they'd can be either they would or they had. Got it.
You got it. You're a contraction master.
I'm learning. Now, I know our source actually breaks down contractions into 3 main types. Can you walk us through those?
Absolutely. So the first type is what we call standard contractions. These are your everyday contractions that are generally considered acceptable in both spoken and written English. Like, I'm, your, he's, she's, it's their, we've, their, whole, hill, illy, they'll, you'd, he'd, she'd, we'd, you know the gang.
Right, right. Those are like the bread and butter of contractions. We use them all the time without even thinking about it. But I know there's a catch, right?
There is a catch. While these standard contractions are generally okay in spoken English, you do want to avoid them in formal writing.
Okay, so like in essays.
Exactly. In essays, research papers, business reports.
Resumes.
Yes, resumes. Any kind of formal writing where you want to sound professional and polished. In those cases, it's best to use the full forms of the words.
Makes sense. It's like putting on your fancy pants for a job interview. You wouldn't wear sweatpants to a job interview, would you?
I hope not.
Same goes for contractions in formal writing. Got to dress them up a bit.
Right. You want to make a good impression.
So that's standard contractions. What about the second type?
So the second type is informal contractions. These are like the super casual contractions that you would only use in very informal settings, like with close friends and family.
Got it.
These include things like wanna for want to, gonna for going to, gotta for got to, kinda, shoulda for sort of, and lemme for let me.
Right. Those are definitely more slangy. Like you wouldn't say gonna in a business meeting.
Probably not, unless you work at a very laid-back company.
True, true. But generally, yeah, it's best to avoid those in professional settings. Okay, so we've got standard contractions, which are generally okay in spoken English but not formal writing. And we've got informal contractions, which are super casual and should only be used with friends and family.
Exactly. Now for the third type of contraction, negative contractions.
Tell me more.
These involve contracting the word not onto a helping verb, like don't, can't, shouldn't, wouldn't, couldn't, wasn't, weren't, isn't, aren't, hasn't, haven't, hadn't, and of course the infamous won't.
Right, won't is like the rebel of the contraction world. It breaks all the rules.
It really does. But we love it anyway.
We do. Now, what's interesting about negative contractions is that they often sound more natural in spoken English than the full forms.
That's right. Like, I don't know, just rolls off the tongue more easily than I do not know.
It does. The full form sounds almost robotic.
A bit stiff.
Yeah. But there are times when you might want to use the full form for emphasis. Like if you're really trying to make a point.
Absolutely. Like if someone accuses you of stealing their cookie, you might say, I did not take your cookie.
Right. That sounds way more convincing than I didn't take your cookie.
Exactly. The full form adds that extra oomph.
Okay, so we've covered the 3 main types of contractions: standard, informal, and negative. Now, are there any other times when we should avoid using contractions, even in casual conversation?
There are a few cases where it might be better to use the full form. Like you mentioned before, sometimes you want to emphasize a word or phrase, and using the full form can help you do that. Like, you are the problem. Sounds much stronger than you're the problem.
Right. It's like you're putting extra weight on each syllable.
Exactly. And sometimes using the full form can also create a more philosophical or definitive tone.
Oh, interesting.
Like the phrase, it is what it is, saying it's what it is, just doesn't have the same impact.
It loses some of its gravitas.
Right. The full form sounds more weighty and profound.
And are there any contractions that are like just plain wrong, like contractions that no one ever uses?
There are a few that are either very rare or non-existent in modern English. Like, for example, amped for am not. You almost never hear anyone say that.
I've never heard that.
Right. Instead, we usually say, aren't I? Which is a bit of an oddball itself.
It is kind of a weird one.
And then there's willn't for will not. Again, very rare. We usually just say won't.
Won't is like the black sheep of the contraction family.
It really is. But it's so common that it's become perfectly acceptable.
Okay, so we've talked about the rules, the exceptions, when to use contractions, when to avoid them. But how do native speakers actually use contractions in real life? Like, do we really think about all these rules every time we speak?
Not at all. For native speakers, Using contractions is completely intuitive. It's like second nature.
That's just how we talk.
Exactly. And in fact, contractions are a big part of what makes spoken English sound so natural and fluid. They help us to speak more quickly and smoothly.
And sometimes we even take it a step further by using double contractions.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would have or shouldn't for should not have.
Those are definitely more common in spoken English.
Right. You wouldn't see those in formal writing.
Not usually.
But in conversation, they're perfectly normal.
And then, of course, you have regional variations in contractions. Like in the southern U.S., you often hear people say y'all, which is a contraction of you all.
And in some parts of the UK, they say in it, which is a contraction of in it.
Those are great examples of how contractions can vary depending on where you are in the world.
Right. It's all part of the rich tapestry of English.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you think listeners should be aware of when it comes to contractions? Like any common mistakes that people make?
One very common mistake is writing should of instead of should.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
People hear the contraction and they think it's spelled should have, but it's actually should, short for should have.
Same goes for could have and would have.
Exactly. Those are all incorrect.
So remember, folks, it's should have, could have, would have, not should have, could have, would have.
Got it.
Got it. Do you have any tips for how listeners can improve their use of contractions?
One really helpful tip is to record yourself speaking and then listen back to it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you might be surprised at which contractions you naturally use and which ones you avoid. It can really help you to become more aware of your own speaking patterns.
And that awareness can help you to become a more confident and effective communicator.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about why we use contractions, the different types of contractions, when to use them, when to avoid them, common mistakes, and even some regional variations. But now it's time to put your newfound knowledge to the test. Are you ready for a challenge?
I think our listeners are up for it.
I think so too. So this week, we're challenging you to become contraction detectives.
Yes. Your mission, if you choose to accept it,
is to listen for contractions in the wild.
Exactly. Pay attention to how people are using contractions in everyday conversation, in movies, on TV, in podcasts.
And once you've identified a contraction, take a moment to analyze it.
Right. Think about the context. Is it a standard contraction, an informal contraction, a negative contraction? Is it being used correctly?
And how does it affect the tone and meaning of the sentence?
And to take it a step further, we challenge you to try using different types of contractions in your own speech.
Experiment with using informal contractions with your friends and family.
And see how they react.
And then try using more formal language with your boss or in a professional setting.
Pay attention to how it feels to use different types of contractions in different contexts.
And finally, we challenge you to take a formal sentence like, "The company cannot proceed with the merger at this time."
And make it more casual by using contractions.
How would you say that sentence in a more relaxed setting?
And how does that change the tone and meaning of the sentence?
So there you have it. 3 challenges to help you become a master of contractions.
We can't wait to hear how you do.
All right, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of contractions.
They may be small, but they're mighty.
They really are. So to recap, contractions are a natural and important part of the English language.
They help us to speak more efficiently and naturally.
But it's important to be aware of the different types of contractions and when it's appropriate to use them.
And remember, avoid those common mistakes like should've and could've.
And if you want to improve your use of contractions, try recording yourself speaking and listening back to it.
That's a great way to become more aware of your own speaking habits.
And with that, we leave you with this final thought. The next time you hear someone say, y'all, don't just think of it as a Southern slang word.
Think of it as a contraction of you all. A perfectly legitimate contraction with its own unique history and charm.
And on that note, we'll be back soon with another deep dive into the fascinating world of language. Next time, we'll be tackling the ever-so-perplexing topic of English word stress.
Why is it photograph but photography? And why do we say insult as a verb but insult as a noun?
The rules seem so random and arbitrary. But trust us, there's a method to the madness.
And we're going to uncover it together.
So until then, keep your ears open and listen for those subtle but important nuances of language all around you.
Happy contracting.
Bye for now.
See you next time.